How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Getting Jiggy With It. I'm Will, and today we're opening up the newest KeyForge set, Dark Tidings. So Dark Tidings, not only did it introduce some new cards, which we'll go over in our packs, but it also introduced a new adventure mode, which me and Audrey, of course, are going to try out this week on the channel. With that said, so KeyForge, unlike most, for those of you that are not used to KeyForge, I know a lot of you guys play Pokemon because that's where our original audience was. Unlike Pokemon or Magic, where you have to go out and collect the cards and try to buy a bunch of individual packs or whatnot, KeyForge, every deck is unique. Every pack is unique. So you don't mix and match packs together. You don't combine them. Unlike Marvel Champions, which I've done a lot of openings recently of, where you can then take some of the cards and mix and match. KeyForge isn't like that. The deck you get is the only deck you can play with. That's good and bad, right? It means that every deck can be played. You don't have to worry about min-maxing. However, there are some ideal cards, some better cards that you might be hunting for. So you're still going to do that search, or you're going to have to go online and buy decks from people. So with that said, KeyForge is from Fantasy Flight Games, so the same company that does bring you Marvel Champions. The new set, Dark Tidings, unlock the secrets of the deep. They've added some new some new mechanics, not commandments. New mechanics which involve a tide, and then the different factions will have those tides. And as you can see down here, they do call it a unique game or a unique deck building game, not a collectible card game or a deck building game. Recommended 14 plus, of course, 2 players, 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and we will get into the box and see what all comes in this. So this is the 2-player set. So this you can go out and buy or get off their website as a 2-player set. Comes with 2 unique decks, so you can start playing right away. So the first thing we have here are the different items that you need for the game. So you have your keys, you have your amber, different types of counters and damage markers, and then you have some additional on the back, as well as your meters, and then some additional +1, some of the different counters here. I'm not as familiar with KeyForge as many of other games. Me and Audrey have played it offline once or twice, and I did play it with a friend who gave me his 2-player packs. That way, me and Audrey could play and see if we liked it. And so I will allow the comment section to go wild, telling me what I'm saying wrong. And I'm going to try not to say anything about certain components, although I'm looking at this little sheet here, and it's going to tell me what all these components are. So I guess I will go through the sheet a little bit more than I used to, because there may be some of you like me that are newer to the game, or again, coming from Pokemon or even Magic and may be interested. But these do all pop out, so you get your little marker boards here. So you get 2 of those, because of course a 2-player game. These pop out pretty nice. And then you have your different tokens, which equally well pop out. Now, I do know that there are upgraded components. I don't know if they are specifically from KeyForge. I know some, I think, were given out during tournaments, back when tournaments were happening, because my friend, he actually has some of the upgraded components. I've seen them, and they actually look pretty good. But, of course, you can go to an Etsy store. I don't know why I'm continuing to pop these out. But, yeah, so standard. These do have that little bit of that linen finish to them, so it does have a little bit of a nice finish to them. But there we go. So we'll just move these off to the side. And you can see underneath I do have my printout for the adventure mode, so we'll go through those cards as well if you're curious about the adventure mode. So there we go. There are our markers. So you get your KeyForge keys, you get your amber, damage, stun, power, encounter, rage, and ward tokens. How to play. So the object of KeyForge is to basically forge your keys. By forging your keys, that's how you win the game. Unlike other card games, it plays a little bit differently. Your deck, of course, running out isn't that big of a deal. You don't have costs to play the characters. You just basically put them out there. The limitation, so that way you don't go crazy and use everything, is you play your cards based on your chosen faction for that turn. So whatever type of faction you choose, and there are I don't know how many there are now. This particular set, was on the side of the box here. Let me bring that back over. Can contain, it looks like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. And I looked on the other box, it was 7 as well. So they rotate through these 7. So each expansion that they come out with has different factions that they kind of feature. Maybe they improve upon or maybe adapt to. And then the difference is because you choose that particular house or that particular faction, then you can just play that one during that turn. Now there are some cards that give you the ability to play any card during your turn, basically because it says draw a card, play it, right? So you do get play mats. So similar to Pokemon, they are going to give you these nice paper play mats. Beautiful art. The art is by, at least for this expansion, Unique Deck Game. Oh, the Unique Deck Game is by Richard Garfield. I don't know if it mentions the artist anywhere. I didn't see that it was mentioned. I thought it said the art was by somebody. I guess not, because I guess the art is by multiple different artists, which would make sense. Yeah, so I'm looking on the Keyraken down here. It says Kevin Sidharta. So we'll look at each of the cards. They'll have different artists' names. The playmat doesn't have an artist name on it, though. But there you go. So you have your identity card, your deck, your discard pile, and your archives. Those are where you put your keys. And then at the top, you have your artifacts. And then the very top, which we can't see unless I fold this in half, you have your battle line. So that's basically your active members. The back is just a big blank white piece of paper for you. So nothing on the back there. Let me see if I can fold this back up, and I will show you the art on the other one. I don't need to open the whole thing because really the art's just this bottom corner. But that's beautiful. I love that. That is awesome looking art in this set. So let's actually put that art up here. That way you guys can appreciate it for a little while. Because of course, once we get the Keyraken, release the Keyraken, then we'll see that. So, and then the only other thing in here, of course, are the 2 unique decks. And there is some nice art on the inside too. So it does have the box art, in the inside, box art in the inside. And it does have a little divider here. So once you get your cards separated, then of course they don't mix together. So get that out of the way. All right. So now we're going to get into the 2 packs and go over the 2 decks we've got. Of course, I wanted to keep this a surprise for me as well for you. So I don't know what decks I've got. I don't even know if these are going to be good or bad, right? Because I don't know enough about the game to know which cards are good or bad. So that's where any of you that are KeyForge players, you can let us know down in the comments. We may have lucked out and got some of the best decks in the game, or we may have just gotten average decks. When you buy these in the store, this is how you'll buy them. You'll buy single packs. That's why there's a UPC here. They have a very advanced computer system, which is made to ensure that no 2 decks are the same. I don't know how they accomplish that. Like, I can't imagine the printing that's required to get that to work and get that to happen. But you do have, let's go ahead and get into this one. You do have a little card here that you can scan. So you can register your decks online. So that way you can see all the decks that are out there. So the first one that we've got, and I'll show you the back. No, it's not that one. So it is this one. All right, so here we go. So we've got the Keeper of Ludicrous the Briar. So we got the Ludicrous Briar. So we have the Untamed, the Logos, and the Saurian. If I remember correctly, these are like beasts. These are like the techie guys. And these, I think, are the like dinosaur guys. Like more of your crustaceans and prehistoric type stuff. Nice little logo here. But here is the list of cards. So they give you the list of cards because you have to be able to make this deck again. When you go to tournaments and things, you have to actually give this to somebody so they can verify your deck. And then you do have this little box here that, like I said, QR code, you can scan it to get this, to show this deck online to see what cards come in this deck. So we'll put this here because this is our first one that we're going through. All right, so the first card here that we have is the new tide. You have high tide and low tide. So depending which way this is facing, either this way or this way, Depends what tide you have. The cards react based on this tide. So on high tide, if the card says if you're in high tide, you can do X, Y, Z. Low tide, do X, Y, Z. Omni, of course, you can raise the tide and gain 3 chain. So chain, of course, is a way to limit the interaction in this game. It's kind of like a small handicap. It's also a way that if you find that you do get 2 decks that are just completely different, use the chains to kind of offset that difference to make them even. And then I've got them upside down because I flipped the entire deck over. Oh, isn't he cute? Alright, so the first one we've got is Youngest Bear. Creature, reap, you may reap with one of Youngest Bear's neighbors. So you can reap to get additional Ember and stuff. Upgrade, Way of the Pixie, so it kind of combines with that. This creature gains Reap, which allows you to get an Ember. Mollymawk. Play, you get to destroy an artifact. So you get 2 of those. Oh, he's cool looking too. Chelonia. And you think saying Pokemon names are hard. Chelonia. Elusive, the first time the creature is attacked, no damage is dealt, which is pretty nice. After you play another creature, if tide is high, so this is where we're talking about the tide, you gain some Amber. So you get 2 of him. Assert Dominance, play. For the remainder of the turn, a friendly creature gains Skirmish. Ready and fight with that creature. So it gives you an additional ability to attack or ready a creature that you might have put out on that same turn. All tied up, so you do get an Ember for playing it. Play, if the tide is high, you gain 1 Ember, otherwise raise the tide. So if you play it, you get 1, but then if the tide was already high, you get another 1. Get 1 Ember here. He's like a hairless kitty cat. Shuffle the least 4 powerful creatures into the owner's deck. So I don't know if that's a judgment. Can you choose who does it? Play. Shuffle the least 4 powerful creatures into their owner's deck. So it sounds like you can choose who's going to do that, but if I'm playing it, I'll have to look that up, see how that works. Gebuk. Destroyed. Discard the top card of your deck. If it is a creature after Gebuk leaves play, put that creature into play in Gebuk's position in the battle line. So it's kind of like he dies, another creature comes back to take his place. Artifact. Pestergrove. Each creature enters play enraged. Oh, he's so cute. He's a fuzzy green. Play, your opponent gains Amber, but you gain 2 for playing him. Now we're getting into the dinosaur type creatures. So Venator Altum. After Venator Altum is dealt damage, if the tide is low, exalt Venator Altum. Ostracize. Play, lose 1 Ember. If you do, purge a creature. So it allows you to purge. Lapisaurus, Taunt. This teacher's neighbors cannot be attacked, so he's like a blocker, so you can put your weaker guys next to him. While attacking the enemy, the creature gains. Before fight, exalt this creature. I'm not sure what the exalt is. I don't remember it in the other one. I think that was a recent rule update. Crushing Charge, play, destroy each creature with power 4 or lower, gain a chain. Cornisan Octavia, Dinosaur Soldier. He captures 2 Ember. Censor Philo. Censor Philo cannot be dealt damage by creatures with Ember on them. Okay, so you get 2 of him. Or I get 2 of them. I shouldn't say you. It's remember, these decks are different based on what you get. Altruist Rostrum. Move 1 Ember from a creature to another creature. So this is real good because you can team him up with that. You basically start moving your opponent's Ember from creature to creature, preventing you from taking damage. It is a Trojan Sauropod. Trojan Sauropod enters play under your opponent's control. Omni, gain 3 Ember. Your opponent reveals their hand and puts each creature from it into play. Ready, then refills their hand as if there were their draw card step, and then you destroy it. So it forces them to put their creatures into play, which I guess could disrupt them, and they're ready. But then you have them draw new cards. I don't know if that would be advantage to you if you were to do the Omni ability or not. Pterodactyl. So you have a dinosaur riding a dinosaur. Enters play stun. Pterodactyl only deals 4 damage when fighting. Before fight, deal 4 damage to each neighbor and the creatures that they are fighting. City-State Interest. Each friendly creature captures 1 Ember, so that's not bad. Bury Riches, play if the tide is high. So here's another one that goes with the tide. Move 1 Ember from each creeper to its controller's pool. Otherwise, raise the tide. So that's how you can get all that Ember off of your creatures. Alright, and now we're going to the logos. So Submersive Principle, I've seen this in a couple other videos. Each player loses 1 Ember. If the tide is high, each one loses half their Ember. So if your opponent's getting it too far ahead of you and you're kind of low, then you could go ahead and only lose 1, but they would lose half of their... Well, you'd both lose half, but if you've only got 2, you're going to lose 1. If they got 4, they're going to lose 2, right? Science. For science! For the remainder of the turn, after you play an action card, you gain an Ember, so that's not bad. Phase Shift. You may play a non-logos card this turn. So remember I mentioned that you can only play 1 faction per turn. This is one of those cards where it allows you to play any other faction during that turn. And it reminded me, down at the bottom it tells you which deck these go with. This is one of those reasons why I'd say each deck is printed 1 at a time, because they all have to have their deck name and number kind of all printed on the bottom. And then down here is where I was mentioning the artists' names. So, Edai Eddie, 4x4. Archive a card. Your opponent's key costs +1 for each card in your archive. Oh, that's really nice. So you can basically just, cards you don't want, keep throwing them in your archive, and then make it more expensive for them to play. Bilge Warden, human, play or reap. If the tide is high, your opponent raises the tide, otherwise you raise the tide. So he basically just allows you to raise the tide. Armadrone is a robot. He steals 1. I think he's got an evil twin in here somewhere. I got 2. I got 3 of him. Alright, so no, I did not have the evil twin. I know he's got an evil twin. I watched the Wasi. He has a regular game channel beyond the Pokemon channel. And he went over the evil version. So think twice, play an action card from your discard pile, then purge it. So it basically gives you the ability to play something that you've already discarded. Positron Bolt, deal 3 damage to a flank creature, deal 2 damage to its neighbor, deal 1 damage to the second creature's neighbor. Oh, wow. It's kind of like Chain Lightning. It's like, well, Bolt, so lightning, right? Lightning Bolt. Mecha Buoy, item, at the start of each player's turn, if the tide is high for that player, they gain Ember. So that's good and bad, right? Because, you know, it's each player turn because the artifact goes for both. Backup plan artifact, for each creature your opponent controls in excess of you, archive the top card of your deck. Alright, so that is our first deck here. I'm thinking the Evil Twins, if I remember correctly, yeah, they are a rare card. So we did not get an Evil Twin in this deck. I don't know how well they play, I guess is the real question, is how much they're really going to come into play. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into the second deck here. Get all this extras, all these goodies over here on the side. And see if I can get into the plastic relatively quickly. That last one opened quick. Let's see if this one's... not bad. Alright, Fantasy Flight, I like your plastic. And if I remember correctly, when I was opening Marvel Champions to get those decks set up, they were pretty easy to open as well. They weren't too difficult. Alright, so our second one, so of course it does change the art a little bit, but we have Marilla, or if we in Spanish is Marija, Trashland Misanthrope. Alright, so it's Sauron, Shadows, and Unfathomable. So that's nice. We get 3 different, well, 2 or 3 are different, although I really like the dinosaurs. So that's kind of nice. We're going to have 2 distinctly different decks. And I think Unfathomable is the new faction, which is this right here. So I guess whoever's playing this deck will get this mat, and this deck this mat. Like you guys care, right? The mats are just going to be on the board for you to see. Right? So we already went over the Tide card, so we'll go ahead and go through our deck here. So we have Wicolia, Beast. Keys cost +2 during your opponent's next turn. Okay, so again, but it's only the next turn, and you perform the reap action, then it's +2. So it'd be like on the turn where you know your opponent's going to be able to create their key, you would of course choose this faction so that way you can reap him. And the baby bear did not go up here with his brothers. Alright, I was about to put this one, mix up the decks, that would not have been fun. Photic Raider, Aquan, capture. Okay, so he can capture 2 Ember from somebody. While the tide is high, he gets +4 power. So you kind of want to keep the tide high here, right? Fight, same thing here. So Hookmaster, if the tide is high, your opponent loses 2 Ember. So you get 2 of those. I shouldn't say, I keep saying you get, because I'm so used to opening theme decks, right? I got 3 of those. Frigorific Rod, action, exhaust a creature or artifact. Okay, and it doesn't say yours, so basically you can exhaust your opponent's creature or an artifact, so that way they can't use it against you. Thundertoe, exhaust 2 creatures, deal 2 damage to each exhausted creature. Curie Guiltspline. Oh, he's like a weird, he's like a froggy, squiddy thing. In a clam with some kind of mechanized legs. Alright. Elusive, after he reaps, it does not ready during the controller's next ready step. Illusion of Grandeur. Choose a house of your opponent's identity. If your opponent does not choose that house as their active house, you gain 3. So you can force them to play a different house. And it's house. I was saying faction earlier because I couldn't remember the term, but it is house. Abandoned Ship. Play, return a creature to its owner's hand. The tide is high, return 4. Oh, wow. Yeah, this deck definitely wants high tide. Effigy. We're kind of focusing issues there, or maybe that's just fuzzy font on there. Effigy of Melarka. You say tomato, I say tomato. After enemy creature reaps, put an awakening counter on the effigy. If there's 6 or more awakening counters on the effigy, move it to a flank of your battle line as a creature with 100 power and 100 armor. This text box is then considered... Holy cow! It turns into a 100-100. Okie dokie. Good luck with taking that guy out. So yeah, after an enemy creature reaps. So, okay, alright. Cup of Water. Play, stun each sideboard creature and each robot creature. So that's good to go against... Well, did we have... Yeah, we had some robots in that deck. Walk the Plank. Okay, so we're going into our next house here. If your opponent has no amber, deal 4 damage to a creature. Otherwise, you can steal 1. Seeker Needle. Weapon. Deal 1 damage to a creature. If this damage destroys it, gain an amber. Mug. Move 1 amber from your creature to your pool. Deal 2 damage. So a lot of amber stealing and stuff like that. They're like a bunch of pirates, right? Loot or Pillage. Choose 1. Steal 1 amber. Friendly creature captures 3. Kerwallop. There's one of the dinosaurs. Deal 1 damage to a creature. Gain 1 ember for each creature destroyed. So you kind of want to play these right when those creatures are about to be knocked out. Jackie Tar. Elf Thief. Elusive. The first time a creature is attacked, it does no damage. That's what elusive means. Which is weird. On the new card, they didn't define elusive. This one, like sometimes I've noticed they've defined elusive, sometimes they don't. Reap, deal 1 damage to a creature. If the tide is high, deal 6 to a creature instead. So again, high tide is your friend. Hard Simpson, elusive. After Hard Simpson is dealt damage, steal a ember. If the tide is low, your opponent steals it instead. Okay, so again, gotta be high tide. Gas Pipes Malone. Before the fight, the creature gas pipes, fights, captures 1 ember from its own side. So it steals its... Huh? Before the fight, the creature Gas Pipe Malone fights, captures 1 ember from its own side. So it... Okay, so it takes it... so it takes its own ember out of its pool and puts it on itself. It's stealing from itself. He's confusing him, I guess. I don't know. Francis the Economist. Skirmish. Creature is fights, no damage in return. Fight, each player gains 1 amber. Play, take control of an enemy artifact. While under your control belongs to the House of Shadows. That's nice. So if you're playing against somebody who doesn't have shadows, they no longer get to have that artifact. Scowly Caper. Skirmish. Scowly Caper, just play under your opponent's control. It can be used as if it belongs to any house. At the end of your turn, destroy 1 of Scowly Caper's neighbors. Oh, so he goes over there and then he kind of backstabs them. Okay, that's kind of nice. Mastermindy, elusive. At the end of your turn, put a scheme counter on Mastermindy. Action, remove each scheme counter from Mastermindy. You get to steal 1 ember for each scheme that you removed. And our Dinosaurus. Alright, so we got him again. The Ventor Altum. We had him in the last deck. Undagnathus. I think they intentionally make these names difficult just so people have a hard time saying them when they're playing them. While the tide is low, he deals no damage when fighting. Okay, so again, got to have the tide high to get that to pull off. Spoils of battle. A friendly creature captures an ember. Each creature with ember on it captures 1 ember from its opponent. So that could be kind of good and bad, because if your opponent actually has some creatures with ember on it, they would also benefit, right? Play if the tide is high, a friendly creature captures 3, otherwise raise the tide. So these seem to be multiplying those amber captures. You get your different creatures with a bunch of amber on them, and then you use your spoils of battle to kind of accelerate that, right? Ostracize, lose 1 amber if you do. Purge a creature. Censor Philo. Censor Philo cannot be dealt damage by creatures with ember on them. And then we got the Trojan Sauropod again. Dino, you didn't. Dino, you didn't? Oh, I know you didn't. No, so Dino, you didn't. Destroy an enemy creature with ember on it. Wow. So actually that could kind of come in, right? Is you make your opponent take ember and then you destroy them, right? Each friendly so City of State, each friendly creature captures ember. And then Tertiate, destroy 1/3 of an enemy creatures and 1/3 of all friendly creatures. You just kill everybody. Just everybody dies. Everybody dies. All right. So that is our second deck. So let's go ahead and we are going to go through the adventure. So it's basically called KeyForge Adventures. They basically added a new mode where you can play solo or with somebody else. And of course, me and Abdul like cooperative. So the first KeyForge adventure is Rise of the Keyraken. You print this out off their website, right? We got a nice fancy smancy brand new laser printer. So of course, you know, I enjoy print and play files more now than I did before. Where I was like, I don't want to print and play. And it tells you how to set everything up. Really, the only difference from the main rules is that instead of attacking your opponent, you're going to be attacking the Keyraken. So the Keyraken is, and he has his own deck of cards. So here is the Keyraken. So you get this big card you print out, and then you got to, you know, cut it out or just leave it as is. So the Keyraken, his hit points. Beast, the Keyraken's power is equal to 30 times the number of players, so his power would be 60. Keyraken only deals 3 damage, however, unlike normally, your damage is your power. Keyraken gets 2 armor for each unforged key an active player has. And then if Keyraken is destroyed, we win the game. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go through his deck. So what happens with the Keyraken is if there are times to talk about archive or things like that, that basically goes into the Keyraken's hand. And then when you take your turn to play for the Keyraken, you basically have to play a card from the deck plus any card that is in their hand, right? So that's how it's kind of automated. The game is automated. Of course, we'll go into more detail when we do the gameplay. So he has Crushing Arms, so he's got 2 of those. Prey, at least powerful flank creature. Destroy, deal 3 damage to the Keyraken, ignore armor. So if we kill the Crushing Arm, because it's one of his arms, right, we're going to do 3 damage to him. So, Grappling Tentacles, there's 2 of these. Prey, the most powerful non-flank creature. So what Prey means is they're basically going to go after our characters. So that just determines who he's going to attack. Play, Grappling Tentacle captures 3 ember from you. If the tide is low, Grappling Tentacle gets 6 instead. So again, for us, we want high tide, right? We want high tide to make sure that we can get what we need. And I forgot to print out their tide cards, which reminds me I need to print the tide cards. I just printed these right before the opening, so I apologize for that. But they have a special Tide card where he gets specific abilities. You don't use the Tide cards that come with the deck. You use his Tide cards. And the reason for that, too, is you can play this deck against any of your previous decks. It doesn't have to be one of these new decks. Right? Lashing Tentacle, Prey, the most, so he's going after the most powerful creature, Skirmish. And then he deals 3 damage to the Keyraken whenever he is destroyed. Shield Arm, so he has taunts. That means you're not going to be able to attack the things around you. Same thing, 3 damage when you kill him. Slippery Arm, so it makes him elusive. And then Reap, if the tide is low, he archives 1 adventure. So that's what I was talking about. He's got his archive, and then when you play your next turn, you have to bring all those out. Deal 3 damage, of course, when you destroy him. So that seems to be the phase, is if you destroy all of these, that's how you're going to be able to beat him, right, is by destroying these. You can attack him directly, but these are, luckily, when you spend all your time killing a 3, or some of those other ones were 6, you're not for nothing, right? Reap, Keyraken steals 1 ember from you. And then here are his action cards. Keyraken gains 1 ember for each of your unforged key. If the tide is high, Keyraken archives 1 adventure card, which is what these are. Behold its grandeur. Keyraken gains 1 ember for each creature you control that shares a house with 1 or more of its neighbors to a maximum of 4. Okay, so you kind of don't want to have your creatures together. Or at least creatures of the same house, right? Crimson Churning. So he gets an amber, but deal 1 damage for each of your creatures. If the tide is high, the Keyraken archives 1 adventure card. Defend the Keyraken. Ward the Keyraken and each of its creatures. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. So there's 45 cards total in this deck. So I don't know why I just stopped and said, even put so there. There's just 45 cards in this deck. Devour Whole. Play for the remainder of the turn. The Keyraken gains Skirmish and Prey, the least powerful creature. It fights, then readies. Keyraken. Drag to your doom. So purge the most powerful creature. If the tide is high, you may lower the tide instead. Emergence. Destroy 1 of your artifacts. Exhaust 3 of your creatures. That's the same one. Emergence. So, and the way the Keyraken wins, since he really can't defeat us, is he has to basically submerge and come back to the surface. I can't remember if it's 4 times or 5 times. But basically that's what he's going to be doing through the game, is he's going to be going up to the surface and then going back down. Right? Coming at the surface, attacking, going back down. And if he does that X number of times, again, I have to read the rules again, then he wins. Into the Abyss, discard your hand, draw 4 cards. If the tide is high, you may lower the tide. Left in its wake, exhaust your most powerful creature and each creature you control that shares a house with it. If the tide is high, the Keyraken archives 1 adventure card. And if I remember correctly, the play, this is when it's saying exhaust your, it's because we're playing ourselves, so it's against the person that drew this card, if I remember correctly. Play if the tide is low, heal 6 damage. That's not good. If it's high, you gain 3 chains. All right. We got preternatural will. Okay, whatever. Preternatural will is what we're going with. If the tide is low, heal 6. Oh wait, that was, we already read that on the other page. I guess I just didn't read the name last time because I'm stumbling over this time. Race to the surface. For each time the Keyraken has advanced this game, which is what I was talking about, going to the surface, it archives 1 card. You may draw cards from your deck. There's a couple of those. The Evil in the Ranks. Deal 3 damage to each of your flank creatures. If the tide is high, the Keyraken archives 1 card. So again, you don't want all these archived cards in there because you got to play them on the next turn. Tidal Trouble. Stun your most powerful creature. Each creature that shares the house with it. If the tide is high, you may lower the tide. Tide Down. Put 1 of your creatures on the bottom of your deck. If the tide is high, the Keyraken archives 1 card. Zealot's Revelation. Shuffle the adventure discard pile into the adventure deck. Then the Keyraken archives 3 adventure cards. Oy, oy, oy. Lots of archiving. And then here are his artifacts. So the first one is Ascending Jet. Give the Keyraken's creature with the lowest power +1 power counters. Creature has 9 or more, destroy Ascending Jets and lower the tide. So it basically keeps adding the +1, right? Action, the Keyraken creature with the highest power captures 1. I'm probably off the side there, sorry about that. Captures 1 Ember. If you have no Ember, destroy Swift Current and lower the tides. That's another Swift Current. Whirlpool Eddy. Stun and exhaust one of your creatures that is not already stunned. If all of your creatures are stunned, destroy Whirlpool Eddy. Primordial. See, that one's easier to say than that Primo whatever will it was. Why couldn't it just be Primordial Will? The Keyraken gains Reap, archive 1 adventure card. After a player forges a key, destroy it. Okay. So you can get rid of it, you just gotta forge your keys. And then, so these were upgrades. Yeah, these were artifacts, these were upgrades. Upgrade, the Keyraken gains Skirmish. Pray the most powerful creature and fight 3 damage to each neighbor of the creature the Keyraken fights. So he's got a lot of that attacking your neighbors. At the end of the turn, if you control no creatures, destroy Titanic Maw. I didn't read that right. All right, and then that's it. So that is all of the cards that are in the adventure. Like I said, this is free. You can go out to Fantasy Flight's webpage and just download this, print it out. Like I said, it works with any of your other KeyForge decks. But if you want to see how this plays, make sure you come out and watch our video during our live stream, or if you can't make a live stream, hit that subscribe bell notification to know when the video is live, so that way you can watch it in your own leisure. So until next time, guys, peace.